What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the #1 live tuning show on Thursday night at 8 o'clock Eastern that's filmed in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Hey, I see Ryan Cole, Jerry's here. Yeah, time change really messing with me. I've been changing a lot of medications lately also, so I'm kind of riding that wave of coming off one medication and going on another. It's been throwing me for loops. Hey, Jim, Socrates, Michael. DMC, good to see you again, brother. And Jordan. Jordan, you look new. If you're new, welcome. Hey, Gutless, Flaquito, Raw. Good to see a bunch of familiar faces on a Thursday night. Ah, sweet. Into LS. Glad to hear it. He says, I had to wait for the daylight savings time, guys, to get the show back in with my lunch break. Man, you should have said something. I could have just moved the show for you, brother. Mr. Schmidhead, re-enabled my VVE and now 10% lean. You got to go back and forth a couple times if you haven't already, because you remember you're working on dynamic, which is a blend of mass, airflow, and VVE. You're in PA, I'm right in New York. Yeah, I'm in Western PA. Used to live in Jersey back in the day. Based my entire Gen 3 build on your channel. Awesome. Thank you, Scott. What are you building? What up, Fuzzy? Jim White, how are you guys locking third gear for dyno time? What are you doing it on, Jim? Some you can just go into the scanner and choose to lock the gear out. I would, I'd probably keep the converter unlocked so you're multiplying torque. But I'm not a dyno guy. Ryan says, to further my wideband story, must be the wideband itself. After a new wiring gremlin, those are always fun. Can add fuel until it's burning your eyes and it's still reading full lean. You replace the sensor, but you're not getting any kind of errors. Could be the controller, man. Thank you, Jordan. Thanks for showing up for the live show. Man, I cranked up the Nova today, and I'm going to dive into injector angle timing on the Holley stuff because that thing burns my eyes. Ooh, I don't know about on the Trailblazer SS4 L80s, Jim. I'd have to look into it. Cole, yes, they have fixed the messed up graphics. If you grab the latest beta, it worked for me. The wideband is out with the O2 show. Normally it shows full lean. Cat Eye 2004 Silverado, BTR Stage 3, VS 7875 Gen 2 on speed density. Sweet, man. Sounds like a cool setup, Scott. Awesome, Michael. Glad to hear it, man. Welcome to the family. Dude, I hear you, DMC. I've got mufflers on that thing, and it's still annoying to drive. Yog, any way you can do a tutorial on how to change cam protocols? What are you trying to elaborate? That's a big question. CAN bus is deep. Oh, sweet, Socrates, nice. Let me know how you like the Holley EFI training. Maybe you can answer some questions for me. While you're there, ask them if you can have multiple Holley CAN I/O modules on the same ECU. I think you can, but I can't find a definitive answer on the interwebs anywhere. Yeah, Jim, there is one in the VCM scanners on certain models that you can set the gear to hold. And then other ones you can set the speed real low and basically broaden your shift points out on third gear. So it quickly shifts from first to second to third. And then holds into third. You just need to play with your trans set points. Hey there, what's saying controls LT4 fuel rail pressure? Last tuner upped and seems to be the 3400 range on stock. Yeah, that's probably a bit high. It'll be on the fuel control module. So there'll be a different module that you'll have to download the tune out of if it's not already in your tune bin. So connect up with your scanner and do a new download. Make sure the fuel pressure control module is being downloaded. That'll open up a new tab across the top for fuel, and then you can see the fuel pressures area where you can set high and low fuel pressure settings. Be aware, though, if he has turned the fuel pressure up, he may be doing it to compensate for running out of injector on a direct injected setup. There you go. Muffler is the turbo. Well, you know, a turbo really does a good job of knocking down exhaust noise compared to if you listen to something with just straight header dumps like a big block. Yes, it's Veterans Day. Thank you to all the other veterans out there for your service. Currently have an AEM Infinity and trying to get my Haltech IC7- to communicate with the Infinity. That's going to be on the Haltech side. So basically, CAN bus, without going too in-depth, CAN bus is a set kind of message format and communications protocol that's going out there. But there are some small things to tweak based on how the message layout is and things like that, and the message length. If those do not match up, it's not going to work. But it's generally going to be on the dash side that you have to configure that on, because I don't know on the Infinities, it's been a while since I played with one, how easy it is to change the broadcast messaging on the ECU on those. Most of the ECUs out there, the standalone ECUs, you can't really tweak the broadcast messaging. You have to go to the device that's receiving it and do the changes there to change the information over. Should hit up the Haltech guys, man. They're super cool. They would probably be able to give you an answer. Pretty big cam in my Fortune Camaro with the built 6.2. Anything I can do to limit the bucking at low speed? Outside of raising the RPM, make sure that the volumetric efficiency table is dialed in, Mr. Bull, because if it's not, that's what's going to get you a lot of that bucking. You're going to be seeing a lot of transient stuff. Also, go in and look at your error on your idle timing and make sure that it's not causing your idle timing to spike a lot. So you have to broaden that error out, because that error is set up to start making timing adjustments around 15 or 25 RPM. You need to broaden that out so it's not making timing adjustments until there's a bigger error, because of the big cam's going to have some lope in it. Congratulations, Schmidhead. I have a ZL1 Camaro with around 700 wheel horsepower, runs great, but I do see some blow-by from the breather at idle when hot, but not a lot of blow-by under boost. Any ideas what caused this? It'd be, how is your crankcase ventilation set up, Luke? Like, how are you getting your vacuum on there? Under idle, you're underneath vacuum, so you shouldn't be seeing really if you are ventilating it into a vacuum source. If you just have it atmospheric, I don't know. Hey, Chevy for Life. Hey, Holly. Does VVE still play a factor in open loop with a blended tune? Yep. Everything does. Except for the MAF whenever the MAS failed. VVE, MAF, dynamic, none of that stuff cares about open loop or closed loop. Open loop, you just have no corrections happening live. Closed loop, you just have fuel corrections, but you're still running off of your dynamic airflow calculations. Yep. Rapid timing changes. As I said, that's what I've been seeing a lot lately on big cams, is that, let me see if I can show you exactly what I'm talking about, because it'll make a little bit more sense. With the cams having, where is my editor? Here it is. Too much timing adjustment. In fact, I was looking at a tune the other day, and it was just shooting like 15 degrees plus or minus. Okay. So, in a lot of these platforms, why is this not working? This thing never works. Makes me so mad. Let me add the screen back in here. Here we go. Here's the screen. Let me make it big. Boop. And put it to the bottom so you can see my face. Like it really matters. Okay, so you have these tables under Spark on a lot of the platforms that are going to have the idle adaptive spark control. And we'll just look at the gear one. You know, it's the same for park, neutral, and coast here. But if we look at the gear, you have an error ratio for overspeed and underspeed. This is an RPM. This is error, saying that if your RPM is 16 RPM over your set point, say if you're set at 900, once you hit 916, it starts taking timing out. And it gets really aggressive out there. And so if you got a big lopey cam that hunts RPM or idle anyways, you need to come in here, and what I like to do is just maybe start here, grab this one, and I'll go out to about 80. I'll paste this in, and then I'll use the old interpolation like that. And then we're going to zero out everything. This creates a dead band. You want to do that on the overspeed and underspeed. This is the same thing. If the RPM gets 16 below 900, it's going to add a degree of timing. So we can come in here, kind of come into the same area, interpolate this out, zeros this out. This gives us that dead band, keeps the idle hunting from happening, and it'll help with some of the low throttle transition bucking. Bank 1 short fuel trim is almost 25 different from Bank 2 short fuel trim in idle. Any idea? Exhaust leak. Check your header flanges, SS Research. Classic indication of an exhaust leak. Michael says, I got an 01 Yukon 5L with cold air intake, long tube headers, catless, full 3-inch exhaust. I'm getting a Bank Sensor 2 102 slow response P300. Can't seem to get that code to go away. That's because your catless. Oh, Bank 2 Sensor 1. Oh, that's shouldn't be getting that on Sensor 1. Try swapping your sensors left or right, see if the error code follows it over to the other bank. It's a bad sensor. If it doesn't, could be bad wiring. Holly, get Chevy for life, a Draggy for Christmas, please. They're not that expensive. When tuning VE, do you start at idle, then partial throttle? Yep, exactly what you said, Scott. Start at idle, partial throttle, work your way up. Even not necessarily, you know, wide open throttle. Partial throttle, take it all the way up to red line. Use multiple gears. Use multiple, you know, try to find hills to drive up to create different loads. I'm going to do a video real soon. I've got a custom tune that I'm doing for a guy, and he sends me speed density logs for doing the VVE tuning, or the VE tuning on his situation. And I had to email and ask him if he was on a dyno. I've never seen somebody fill this many rows up on an SD table. It's mind-blowing to me. Like, I mean, this just almost the whole table is completely filled out whenever he sends me a log. And it just makes life so easy. I'll try and get that video out this weekend. It's crazy looking. As I said, if you sent that log to anybody, they would think that it was on a dyno if they just looked at that graph. Now, if you go down and look at his driving and stuff in the chart, yeah, you can tell that he's out driving around, stuff like that. Catch can is set between the PC valve and the intake. Should I move it to the intake to valve cover side or add a second catch can? PCV valve to intake. That's where it goes. Isn't that the way they set it up on the Z01s? No, that's not right. Should be on the valve cover, right? Intake to valve cover? Somebody help out. I can't think in brain stuff. There you go. As into LS says, allow it to lope. Don't fight the natural cycle of the camshaft, and it'll idle nicely. That's the worst thing that you can do on an aggressive camshaft is fight the lope. It's just not efficient at idle. That's what's going on. 2003 Vet mid pipes replaced with only provisions for the front O2s. Is it okay to remove one of the front O2 sensors for the wideband? Yep. Totally fine, Tommy, because, you know, we disable the closed loop system because it causes data skewing, you know. So, you know, without going into too much of a tangent, technically you can use both a wideband and closed loop system to do tuning. But listen, the narrow bands are just not anywhere accurate enough to use that data, really. There's a hose from the throttle body to the supercharger, and you put it there unless you have a Mighty Mouse catch can. There you go. Schmidhead says the hose from the throttle body to the supercharger. Yes, and you want to make sure that you have a source of fresh air be pulled into the crank. And don't do what I do and just forget that you got both of your valve cover vents blocked off and push 5 quarts of oil out the front main seal. Gutless, yes and no. Okay, he says when logging for VVE, I find myself modulating the throttle a lot to fill the table. Can that cause transients to affect my log? It can. Just no quick throttle stuff. You know, everything whenever you're doing VVE should be nice and smooth, so you're slowly filling that data in. If you're ever jabbing the throttle, you're going to get bad data on that. And a lot of that's not even necessarily the transient stuff. It's the actual delay in the readings that we're taking. Open loop is best during tuning. Once it's done, put it back in the closed loop. Yeah, 5 quarts. The only reason that I knew it was happening because I was sitting in the truck making adjustments on the tune was that I got a low oil pressure light. And I was like, what the hell's going on? I'm just lucky it didn't catch fire again. You can also set up a filter for transients. There's some advanced math that you can do out there. In fact, HP Tuners has a post somewhere that goes into doing transient math where you can go in and take accelerator pedal position, rate of change over a period of time greater than this, filter that data out. Wide open throttle spark goes into the negatives. Any ideas? Could be a lot of things. Could be torque. You're on a G8, so it could... no, G8 probably wouldn't be torque. Could be traction control. Could be knock. Should I place my wideband on a single back or back where the Y pipe meets? Michael, you want to put it on a single just because you want it fairly close to the collector. You know, I put mine in a collector because the further back it is, the more delay that you're going to have in your readings. ICT, good to see you, brother. Big cam not efficient and idle. Can this cause blow by? Yeah, if it's not pulling very much vacuum, I mean, technically probably shouldn't be pushing anything out of the crankcase at idle unless your ring gap is huge. You shouldn't be building a lot of pressure at idle in the crankcase. But having a low vacuum can also cause some issues. What do you recommend for a gearbox tuning? Blue Cat. Check out the Blue Cat app. The Blue Cat program. It's out there somewhere. Blue Cat transmission. Oh, Dan, go to Nitrous Express's website. He was talking about Snow Performance website, and the old one may link to the company before Nitrous Express bottom out. But go to Nitrous Express to get any Snow Performance stuff. Not knocking on the graph, traction control off. Let me tell you, traction control is never off. Even if you hold the button down and it says it's off, you can still have traction control in there. So double check that. The only way to turn traction control off is to fail traction control. What up, DZ? Tell Hillary hi. Since I put the supercharger on, I got almost no oil in my catch can. Is this normal? I mean, it's... yeah. Oil in a catch can isn't necessarily normal. Like, it depends on a lot of factors on whether or not that stuff's getting churned up and turned into vapor. Aviation Pro, just literally if you go out on Google and search for Blue Cat transmission, it'll pull it up. You'll find a link. Got an 01 Firebird. I'm going to swap an LS3 and a 4L80. And do you have any videos showing trans tuning? No, not really, Jake H. Trans tuning is so subjective. Like, what I like my trans to do, a lot of people aren't going to like their trans to do. Outside of that, there's not a lot to do other than adjust pressures and shift points. Basically, you know, you want to ramp your shift points up until they're about to hit red line and they shift in time. If you go too far, you're going to bounce off the rev limiter. You know you've gone too far. Lower them down a little bit. Raise your pressure up till the thing shifts too hard. Then you know it's shifting too hard. And then Mr. Schmidthead tries to put in the transient data. Schmidthead, you go post it over on the forums if you want, and people can find it on the forums. No shave November. No, just lazy guy. Just lazy guy. ICT. This is like 3 weeks for me. I don't grow facial hair. See, I don't like that fuzzy moto. I like it when it's nice and smooth. That's why I like the Power Glide, man. The Power Glide's so smooth. Even though it's like the Turbo 400 that was in the truck, that thing kicked. Do you do any wide open tuning for customers? Oh, no. Are you just saying just strictly wide open tuning? No, I only do full tunes. I had kicked around the idea of doing a lower price tier bin for wide open throttle tuning, but I'll be honest with you, like my process is so long and in depth. It's just I couldn't sleep at night if I was just doing like 2 adjustments and sending somebody down the road. You know. See you, Les. Have a good one, brother. Thanks for stopping by. As I'm sure there's, yeah, I was about to say, there's a few people in here that can attest. Jerry and Brad. Have a super harsh downshift. That's interesting. Well, I mean, just go back and compare a stock transmission tune. See if anything's off. Should MAF and VVE air be close or equal? And so why would dynamic be different? So, I mean, they should be close, but there's, you know, they are 2 different modes of calculating, and that's why we have a blended dynamic mode. You know, and based on a lot of things that are going on in the background that we don't really see, and transients, the big one that's going to determine where the weight is, whether or not it's more towards VVE or more towards mass airflow, they're not going to be the same. And if they were, we wouldn't have a reason to run both of them. That's why we get the nice drivability out of this stuff if they're both tuned properly. And so that's, at the end of the day, you know, that's really... On 305 45 17 MT60 roll, do you think it's still traction? Oh, I don't know, Alberto. I run bigger tires than that, and I have no problem blasting them off at 60. Well, Mike, double check that your polling time's updated. And all 3 of those are pulling as fast as possible, because you could be seeing some latency in the data. You got to realize that that stuff is being calculated at a speed that the interface can't even pull at. You know, that's why I have some issues with looking at mass airflow, volumetric airflow, and dynamic airflow, and trying to make all that data match up, because as I said, that calculation is happening, you know, hundreds of times a second, and we can only pull it at, you know, what, maybe 10 times a second on that parameter. I can't remember what the speed is. I'm just saying, Alberto, I have seen issues of negative timing on stuff where I have, you know, I mean, the Super Auto being a prime example of thinking that I had all of the traction control stuff turned off, and it's saying everything's off, until I actually went in and failed it manually by unhooking one of the ABS sensors. it was fighting me the whole way. Once I did that, it was tried to kill me. What is the wait time for your services? I think I've got 1 or 2 spots open right now. Generally, I take on 1 or 2 new ones every month. Man, I don't have the cojones to do that stuff anymore. It starts letting loose above 50 mile an hour, so I like to back off of it. Just check that out. Alberto, that's an easy thing. If you unhook one of your wheel speed sensors and see if it makes a difference. See, takes 30 seconds to do that and see if it's still some kind of traction management. I actually hooked a relay up with a switch on my dash so I could basically hit a button, disconnect one of my ABS sensors so it would fully turn off the traction control on my truck. Aviation Pro, there's probably ways to do that. I'm not going to be able to answer that for you. Somebody else on here might chime in as far as logging. Do you know if it's HP Tuners that's got it locked? Ben, I don't know. I will look. In fact, I just looked at your tune. We used your tune. I haven't had time today. I've literally been tied up nonstop up until about an hour ago. So I kind of had a project dropped on my lap and then a ton of meetings this morning that kept me backed up. But after I get some stuff knocked out in the morning, I'll check it out and get back to you. Dude, ugh. Guy lighting tires at 150. Whew. Put a larger pull on my supercharger because spinning at 70 miles per hour. Yeah, dude, Danny, I mean, that's exactly it. That's exactly it, man. As I said, that's why part of the reason why I took the F1A off the Silverado. It just was scary fast, like uncontrollably fast. Should not be able to do stuff like that. What up, NS Boost? Haven't seen you forever, brother. Recently got my stock bottom M53 into the 580s with my WS6. Sweet. Congratulations, man. Make sure to report back if you get her down in the 550s. Hey, Ben, and if I don't comment on that, make sure and email me back and ask me why it was. Because whenever I get into tuning mode, sometimes I get my head down and I'll forget that you asked this question tonight. I plan on drag racing my Firebird with 4L80. Should I calculate my gear ratio for the diff based on third gear or the overdrive gear? Probably third gear because you really don't want to get into overdrive. You want to cross the finish line, max RPMs, third gear, and gear out for that. That's why I've got 411s with a Power Glide in the Nova right now, because the idea that should put me across the line with the size tire I have on there at like 130 some miles an hour. And that's getting it for that car. There you go, man. Gotta get more tire. Yeah, Ben. So it is 8:27. We're going to have a question or two more before we rock it up. As I said, Ben, just be aware. I want everybody to be aware. This is not a short process whenever you tune with me. I take my time. It takes a while, but whenever it's all said and done, you get a tune that's of the quality of what I would tune one of my own vehicles. So, we're going to get back into the habit of getting live streams on. I went really good there for a long time, but I've had all kinds of issues. Last Thursday, as I said, I got 8 shots down my back to release some back spasms that I had a lot of steroids pumped into my back. And then they've swapped me over on a couple different medications to try and help me out with my tremors, and that stuff has been... I'll feel really good one day, and the next day I can barely move. Like, hey, Rockstar, thank you, man. I wish there was more stuff for the E38 Gen 4 stuff too, man. Yeah, exactly. Suave. Try to get my next sponsor. I love it. Oh yeah, Schmidt had posted that transient math on the forum, so go over to goatropegarage.com, check it out. I get emails all the times for you know, in a lot of them are fake companies out of China saying, oh, we want to sponsor a video on your channel. And so some of the best ones was about 3 days after I got the Corvette, I got an email saying they were from New Balance, which, I mean, that just cracked me up. But I got one last week, I want to say, that said it was from Boston Dynamics, saying that they wanted to, you know, literally they wanted to send me a robot. Click on this link to go to the catalog and choose one between the price of $10,000 and $15,000, and we will send it to you to review on your channel. And I'm just like, I wish this was real. I could think of some things to do around the garage with the Boston Dynamics robot. When adding timing in the base table, what happens if you go way overboard? Boom. Boom is correct. Yes. Yeah. You'll get, well, theoretically, you'll get to the point where the detonation gets so bad that it basically puts your car into limp mode, and hopefully that's before it's smoked a piston. If it's on a boosted application, though, you're probably going to blow the rings out of it. So I know the feeling, Ben. I don't have very many straight roads around here to get up above like 50, 60 miles an hour, so I've got to be very careful. Scott, is there any transmission you swap into a 14 Silverado instead of 6L80? No modern transmissions, unfortunately. That's because that controller that for the 6L80E, that's the only one it'll support, and that's the only one. I don't know. Well, your option is you might be able to put an 8L80 in there, but it's not going to be any cheaper than the 6L80. But as far as going to, you could go to a manual valve body transmission. Yeah, I miss the Oklahoma roads. Yeah, exactly. I do have a video on how to lift the ring lands. Yeah, knock sensors will pull timing out. They should. But I wouldn't put all of my faith in them. You know, once you start seeing those numbers tickle on the knock sensors, like, you're getting there, man. Scott, but as far as a modern transmission that's going to keep your truck drivable, you're probably better off trying to find somebody that can rebuild it as opposed to paying $3,000 for a reman. I wouldn't think it'd be too expensive to rebuild a 6L80. Have you seen, okay, Fast Hippo, we're going to go on a couple minutes here. Fast Hippo, have you seen the new Magasin 2650 for the LSA Camaros? Yes. They've got a new 2650 out for the ZL1 LT4s, but it's not for the Z06s. Has anybody seen that? That the new 2650 and the new 3100, yes. And then, of course, to correct over the last live show, the new Chevy 632. The article I found had it priced at $18,000. No, it's $37,000, I believe, is what the price comes in on that new crate motor. So, yeah, I know, because of clearance, Scuba Sam. You don't have to be a party pooper. Kong said he isn't going to sell the 3100 because it's not better than a 2650. Well, he would probably know. He would probably know. Just cut the hood. Man, that car's too beautiful to cut the hood. Okay, listen up. It's that time. Thanks, everybody, for stopping in on a great Thursday night. Good questions, as always. Good chat, good conversation. Thanks for everybody who takes the time to participate in the comments, the chat room. As I said, you guys, I mean, answer half these questions for me. I just get to sit here and kind of BS and have fun. Hopefully I'll get all this medication stuff sorted out, and maybe next weekend we can have a cold beer on the live show. So you guys know how it goes. But I want to thank everybody, as always, for stopping by the garage. Remember, APT, always be tuning.